Well, welcome to Tuesday morning of Passover, or some of us might call it Passion Week. Let's review real quick so you'll know where we're at. Sunday was an incredible, an amazing, even spectacular triumphal entry for Jesus coming into Jerusalem, celebrated by the masses. People are coming from all over the region. This is the biggest religious week of the year. Now, Monday, Jesus did something that caught everyone off guard. He shut down the temple economy. He chased people out of their jobs. He has stopped the flow of money into the temple on the busiest, most important religious week of the year. Without all the exchanging and trading for sacrificial purposes, of course, the temple is going to be hard pressed to make up the income that they're losing now that Jesus has shown up and shut everything down. So as we start the day today, there's a bit of chill in the air towards Jesus. But he has a rally planned for later where he will talk to the people, and we all know how wonderful and wise of a speaker he is. So everyone is looking forward to this event. The crowd seems to be gathering early, so let's get ready to listen to Jesus' speech. For Matthew 23, 1 through 36, I will break this up as we go along. Then Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples, "The teachers of religious law and the Pharisees are the official interpreters of the scriptures. So practice and obey whatever they say to do to you, but don't follow their example, for they don't practice what they teach. They crush you with impossible religious demands and never lift a finger to help ease the burden." This is probably not the best way to begin your final campaign speech. The people are not happy with the Pharisees and the teachers of religious law. They're wanting Jesus to be their teacher. Then he irritates the religious leaders for calling them out for a lack of compassion. I don't know who is heading up Jesus' campaign for king, and I don't know who his speechwriters are, but they've missed the mark when it comes to gaining back the ground that he lost in the polls yesterday. So let's continue. Verse 5. Everything they do is for show. On their arms they wear extra long prayer boxes with scripture verses inside, and they wear extra long tassels on their robes. And how they love to sit at the head of that table at banquets and in the most prominent seats in the synagogue. They enjoy the attention they get on the streets, and they enjoy being called rabbi. Don't ever let anyone call you rabbi, for you have only one teacher, and all of you are on the same level as brothers and sisters. And don't address anyone here on earth as Father, for only God in heaven is your spiritual Father. And don't let anyone call you Master, for there is only one Master, the Messiah. The greatest among you must be a servant, but those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. The issues of the day are turning in Jesus, are not, I should say, turning in Jesus' favor. Not only are the religious leaders being insulted, but he's ripping at the customs, the traditions, the rituals of the people. He's telling them that the things they've learned over the years in Sabbath school and at the synagogue are not quite right. Jesus must not be aware of how a candidate should speak to his potential voting group, so especially his supporters. Doesn't he know that he's supposed to do a little fishing for men here? The old bait and switch maneuver? Get them on your side, then change the direction after you've obtained the office. But he continues in verse 13. How terrible it will be for you, you teachers of religious law and you Pharisees, hypocrites! For you won't let others enter the kingdom of heaven, and you won't go in yourselves. Yes, how terrible it will be for you teachers of religious law and you Pharisees. For you cross land and sea to make one convert, and then you turn him into twice the son of hell as you yourselves are. It's one thing to insult the religious leaders. I mean, the crowd kind of likes that. But when you begin to call the religious leaders converts sons of hell also, well, that's intolerable. Blind guides in verse 16, how terrible it will be for you. For you say that it means nothing to swear by God's temple, you can break the oath. But then you say that it is a binding to swear by the gold in the temple. Blind fools, which is greater, the gold or the temple that makes the gold sacred? And you say that to take an oath by the altar can be broken, but to swear by gifts on the altar is binding. How blind! For which is greater, the gift on the altar or the altar that makes the gift sacred? When you swear by the altar, you're swearing by it and by everything on it. And when you swear by the temple, you're swearing by it and by God who lives in it. And when you swear by heaven, you're swearing by the throne of God and by God who sits on the throne. Once again, Jesus is hitting beyond the religious leaders. The people have been taught that they can buy favor with God through their golden gifts. If what Jesus is saying is true, then all we are accustomed to for purchasing our standing with God is not going to work. Jesus' words are now cutting off everybody, and the very people that were celebrating on Sunday. His campaign bus arrived on Sunday with a great fanfare. They were out in force to cheer on this new candidate for king, and now they're not so sure. How terrible it will be for you teachers of religious law and Pharisees, verse 23, hypocrites, for you are careful to tithe even the tiniest part of your income, but you ignore the important things of the law, justice, mercy, and faith. You should tithe, yes, but you should not leave undone the more important things. Blind guides, you strain your water so you won't accidentally swallow a gnat, then you swallow a camel. Jesus, once again, attacks the giving record of the people. The people that think they are earning favor through tithing and they're feeling a bit disturbed at the present time. You mean this Jesus wants more of us than our monetary offerings? He wants us to practice things like justice, mercy, and faith. This is hard. Just tax us and do for us, but don't ask anything about us. If Jesus keeps up this speech, there will be no way for him to get elected king. You would think his disciples that have been following his campaign so closely for the last few years would pull him aside, let him know that his words are beginning to cut off more than he's drawing in. Let's go on to verse 25. How terrible it will be for you teachers of religious law and you Pharisees, hypocrites. You are so careful to clean the outside of the cup and the dish, but inside you are filthy, full of greed and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisees, first wash the inside of the cup, and then the outside will be clean too. How terrible it will be for you teachers of religious law and you Pharisees, hypocrites. You are like whitewashed tombs, beautiful on the outside, but filled on the inside with dead people's bones and all sorts of impurity. You try to look like upright people outwardly, but instead, your hearts are filled with hypocrisy and lawlessness. I don't think there's a single person in the room that would be willing to vote for a candidate that stood before you and graphically told you the truth. Politicians do not get elected by telling the truth. They only get elected when they twist the truth to make the voters believe they're really working for them. What if a politician stood before a people and said something like Jesus' speech here today? What do you think? Here's my twist for you. You people here today are the reason the nation is in the state it's in. You're greedy, self-indulgent. All you want is someone to feed you, provide for you, keep you medicated, and secure you in your old age. You're only here today hoping you'll hear some fine words that will give you the hope that I am the man to fulfill your wants and desires. You're a bunch of whitewashed tombs. You look good on the outside, but you're all really only about yourselves. There's not a person here today that would vote for that person. The reason is you say you want honest politicians, but you do not want to face the truth, and neither did Jesus' crowd. Verse 29, how terrible it will be for you, teachers of religious law, and you Pharisees, hypocrites. For you build tombs for the prophets your ancestors killed, and decorate the graves of the godly people your ancestors destroyed. Then you say, we never would have joined them in killing the prophets. In saying that, you're accusing yourselves of being the descendants of those who murdered the prophets. Go ahead, finish what you started, snakes, sons of vipers. How will you escape the judgment of hell? I will send you prophets and wise men and teachers of religious law. You will kill some by crucifixion and whip others in your synagogues, chasing them from the city to city. As a result, you will become guilty of murdering all the godly people, from righteous Abel to Zechariah, son of Berechiah, whom you murdered in the temple between the altar and the sanctuary. I assure you, all the accumulated judgment of the centuries will break upon the heads of this very generation. Now, that's a campaign speech if you're running for assassination. It's probably not going to win the crowd, not going to influence a bunch of people as this week progresses on. But this is only Tuesday. Things might change. I'm not going to bet on it at the present time, because I know the human race. I'll be back tomorrow to see how this latest rally, where Jesus spoke truth, went over with the people. See you tomorrow.